So I got here a business page here. Look at the headline. AC technicians to get $1.5 million in back pay. I've been seeing this more and more in the paper. I've read a couple articles. Sorry about that, guys, boys and girls. My producer here is wanting to take snapshots. I don't know why. We're recording it. So, anyway, maybe he's drinking the same thing.
Woo! I'm a little extra today.
Drinking the same thing our boy Landon's drinking here?
Yeah. Hey, what I want to see is those shoes that Landon, those gold shoes.
Yeah. When's the gold shoes going to make a debut? We can make a whole show out of that. So I started Googling around, and this has become one of the main things that the Biden administration, they put out there they were going to hire like 8,000 IRS agents. Well, this, they didn't specify a lot of this, but I'm seeing this more and more, and they are coming after us for improper pay. This happened to me back in 2003, I believe. It's not fun. So I'd like to talk about this because I've actually experienced it.
So have I.
I think this would be a good one.
From Sarah Systems and Billy Go, this is No BS with Billy Stevens and Landon Brewer, the unfiltered, straight-shooting podcast that dives deep into the heart of home service trades to uncover the truth about running your business. You're entering the No BS zone with Billy and Landon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to No BS with Landon and his sidekick, Billy. As you can see, my sidekick today is wearing his sunglasses because he's in the presence of stardom. He's allowed me to do the introduction for the first time in history.
Bright star in the making.
I love it. We got a great show today. We've got some, in my opinion, some pretty interesting topics, very relevant for everybody that's in the home services business, something to keep a keen eye on. But before we get into that, one of the things that I wanted to bring up in the beginning of the show, in case we go down a couple of rabbit holes, is that, again, humbly speaking, I believe that we have just, probably on accident, created one of the most relevant shows that's out there today, talking about the state of our industry, what's happening in our industry, how to build a successful and profitable home services business. And we do it all for free. We do it this is just part of Billy and I's decision to kind of give back to the industry and just do this. And, when we first started, I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and it's gone pretty cool places. And we got some pretty cool guests lined up. But to keep this going, it's very important if you agree with everything that I just said, or even if you don't, that you need to like and subscribe to the channel to get it out to the masses, to keep the information that we're putting out there free flowing and available and relevant to everybody. So please do us a favor and like and subscribe to the channel so we can keep this going. What do you think? You think people should do it? I mean, really, if you have the internet, I don't even know what you're doing if you haven't liked and subscribed yet.
Hey, man, that was a great job. Great job. Man, well, look at this guy opening up the show. Trying to get our subscriptions up. I like everything about it. He's a hard sell guy. You got to put him in a truck. He may make some money for somebody one day. You never know.
I'm known for being the sales guru, right?
That's right. You are a sales guru for sure. Awesome. Well, yeah, I decided to, I got my sunglasses on. I'm just kind of sitting back watching the man do his thing. I guess it's time for me to get serious. So I'll get these off here, and we're going to get into this one today. And this is pretty big. So give you some little backstory. I have my wife has her grandmother's still alive, and she's 98, I believe, or 99. She just got her license renewed for 2 more years. She plays piano at senior citizens facilities for people that are 20 years younger than she is. Drives there and everything, gets paid, all this stuff. But she loves little jobs, and she has a job that I gave her, and she fulfills that job to a T. And all she has to do is she gets the paper every day. She does the crossword puzzle. She does all this stuff every day. But her job is to give me the business section of the newspaper, because I don't get the newspaper, but I still like reading the paper. I like holding it, and reading it. And so every time I go and see her, or she comes to the house, or my wife goes over there and sees her, she's got a stack of business, newspapers. And I get a lot of information out of this stuff. But this particular article that I got from this last batch that she sent over, it's something I've been seeing a lot. I've been following this ever since the Build Back America program was put in place, Tax Us into Prosperity, I believe it's really called, behind the scenes. And, with the 8,000 IRS agents they were going to hire, along with that, I guess they beefed up the Department of Labor. And so on the very first page of the business section, here's what I saw. AC technicians to get $1.5 million in back pay. That's a very interesting article. So what that means is this guy had what necessarily, I don't know the facts other than what I read here, but he probably had some kind of commission-based pay. He probably had some, a little bit of independent contractor pay, stuff like that. And that's the wrong way to classify workers. And therefore, some employee was disgruntled about his pay and basically filed a claim with the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor comes in and they'll tell you straight to your face, you are guilty, and you have every opportunity to show that you're not, but until then, you're guilty. It's basically how it works. How do I know this? Because this happened to me in 2003. I was paying commission pay, spiffs. Remember, everybody on this program knows I hate spiffs and I hate commissions and I hate all that stuff. And I hate all this stuff for a reason, because it cost me $190,000. Because if you pay a spiff of $25 and that guy gets 5 hours of overtime, you owe that guy $37.50 for that spiff. Yeah, technically that's not correct. Let me just back up. Let's say that his average pay for that week was $25 and he got 5 hours of overtime. Then you owe him $37.50 for the spiff and for the overtime. Okay? You have to pay more. And that's why I hate spiffs. Because at the end of the day, number one, they're technically, unless they're done perfectly correct, they're illegal in a way. They're not technically illegal, but they create illegal forms of payment to a blue-collar worker. And that's why I'm not a proponent of them. I'm a proponent of hourly wage with hourly increases as they work through the week. And it works very well, and it's 50 state compliant and all that stuff. So it's a very simple pay plan.
Well, when you showed me that, I Googled it, and the first thing that comes up when you Google HVAC back pay for technicians, the first thing that comes up in Google is the Department of Labor, and they've got a big article on from the Department of Labor's website about this. And it just like you, it happened to me. It's happened to me a couple of times in different businesses. Having businesses in California specifically, it's like I don't even know anybody that hasn't, of any scale or magnitude, that hasn't dealt with this in California. It's just particularly difficult here. That said, I mean, it cost us in one instance, it cost us over $2 million, and they go back like several years, right? When they're doing
3 years, I believe.
audit.
Yeah, I think 3 years.
Yeah, and like you said, when we made our case, every time I've had this happen, we've always actually overpaid the employees according to their comp plan. Mm-hmm. So like it's you should just be able to say, hey, look, we owed them X and we paid them X plus 5%. So why is this an issue, right? If that's how the system should work, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not how the system works. The system's like, okay, well, as we're digging through the files, this employee didn't clock out for a break, and this person was supposed to get a meal period here. You should have paid a violation for this. And at the end of the day, they're just looking for excuses of how you broke the law, and not to reward the employee mostly to reward themselves, get state fines, and then the lawyers. All of the money, 80% of the money goes to lawyers and the state and fines. It doesn't even go to the employees. So that $2 million, the employees didn't see much of that. They saw pennies, and depending on they saw, small checks get written. But it's absolutely maddening. And I think, the commission piece, not just the spiffs, the commission piece is where, like there's some real liability, because everybody was paying commission for a long time. It was like it's kind of the go-to if you don't know how to effectively manage labor, right? Mm-hmm. It's just put everybody in commission and try and lock them in. And, you can pay for that sin, because I think that's where you start crossing the boundaries with a tool carrying skilled trade employee, that if you're controlling their time, you can't be paying them a commission, because that kind of puts them in an independent contractor category.
Yeah. Which got these guys in trouble.
Yeah.
From the article that I read right here. So yeah, this happened to me right around 20 years ago. We were a $3 million company, and we got a $190,000 fine, and there wasn't $190,000 within 190,000 miles of that company. There just wasn't. The money wasn't there, and you have to pay it fairly quickly, because the interest and penalties just continue to go faster than you could pay down. I mean, it's off the charts. And so you have to figure out a way to do this. And obviously, I created my membership program to pay for it. I mean, that's how it was born, the $99 per house, because I needed that $99 in the first 190,000 of the $99 agreements that we sold. And we sold enough to pay the bill in 90 days.
You just say, hey, guys, I appreciate you taking me to the Department of Labor in order to pay for it. Now you got to go sell these things. Did you kind of tell them that plan?
Yeah. Yeah. And that really wasn't even the worst part. It was having to pay the people that you fired that were really terrible employees from 3 years ago. They got a check.
It's always the crap bags.
Yeah.
It's never any, like, now I'm sure, the Department of Labor, union, all of those things, there's some basis in it, right? I'm sure there's some terrible employers that, are just manipulating and fleecing their employees, and they're just crappy people. And like in segments of California, there's a lot of these fly-by-night contractor people that are just do illegal crap, go out and do, sell $70,000 whole house home improvement jobs, including air conditioning and siding. Like you see that crap all the time. And then they're paying, 15% commissions, and they're not paying any payroll taxes. And, I get that. But I think for the vast majority of us, we really are trying to do the right thing, trying to pay the employees well, trying to, to our detriment usually, and to the detriment of the profitability of our company, actually pay them more than we should in many cases. So I don't think that the majority of us, even though there's a target on our backs, the majority of us deserve it.
Yeah. So the rules are very simple. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. The rules are very simple when it comes to blue-collar workers, which is the classification that all field personnel must fall under. And the rule
I noticed you got a blue collar on today, by the way.
I do.
Is that on purpose? Was that subliminal?
I don't think it was on purpose, but I wear it proudly. I'm blue collar through and through. So very much so. But the thing is, the rules are simple. If they get over it, now I'm not talking about California. We can talk about California in a second. But the general rule in most states is you pay overtime after 40 hours. Okay. And that is really all there is to it. And then, of course, if you go to California, I think you pay overtime each day after 8 hours. And we don't have to get into all that, but you guys in California know the complications there, and you better be on it. But so when we get into this commission-based pay and all these different commissions, we're confusing the techs, we're confusing the people doing the payroll, we're having to work your managers, your department managers are spending time on payroll, the techs spending time on their own payroll. the payroll department is rushing to get it all done because it took the department manager too long to get it ready, and he's not doing his job anymore. I mean, you're just adding cost. The more complicated you made it, and I've seen some doozies. I've seen some that would give Einstein a headache. It's pretty crazy, and so you got to just follow those rules. And so if you're paying commission and you get turned in, and those guys are working 60 hours a week getting that commission, they're going to come back at you, and you're going to pay that 20 hours of overtime 3 years back. It's just the way it's going to be. So when I had the conversation with the lady that was in charge of finding me, the conversation was, I said, I don't understand why I have to pay, because I know we are the highest paying company in the area, in Texas, probably everywhere, because we were very forward thinking in the 90s. We were, when everybody aspired to be at $20 an hour, we were paying 30. And so we always paid way more than everyone else. And she said, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you paid them. It's whether or not you paid them the overtime that they deserved when they worked overtime. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she's pretty much summed it up. She goes, it's very simple. Your guy makes $1,000. He worked 45 hours. You take the 1,000 divided by 40, and then you time and a half the overtime part. And that's the hourly rate. And I'm like, well, I'll just make an hourly rate then. And she's like, fine. And then my next question I asked her was, if a guy started off at $25 an hour and I wanted to give him $28 an hour that week, is that illegal? She goes, no, as long as you do time and a half after 40. And I said, all right, here's another scenario. So then the following week, he starts back over at 25 and he makes $31 an hour this week. She goes, perfectly fine, as long as you pay time and a half after 40 hours. I mean, that's all she would say. And then that's when I created the payroll system that I use now, and that lots and lots of people use. And so the $190,000 was a potential bankruptcy situation for me. I had to come up with something to figure out how to pay this. I would imagine that back then I there was cash in the bank, but that's checkbook accounting, right? Maybe I had 30 or 40 grand in there, but I had payables that probably exceeded that. All right. So it was actually negative cash flow in the early days, or flat, whatever. And so how am I going to come up with this 190 grand? Well, that's when my membership program was born, and we went and we sold them, and we sold them as fast as we could sell. And I paid the bill. So we got all that, and we got the fine paid, but I didn't leave it there. So what I did is, for you guys and girls that are, don't know me and what I do in my free time, I like things with engines, motors. I'm a gearhead as well. And I like motocross a lot. I've been riding dirt bikes probably the minute after I learned how to walk. I jumped on a dirt bike. It's just something that I love. And then I race cars for many years as well. And I always run number 190. I run that number because of that fine, and it just so happens there's another reason why I run it, but just by accident. But also, the 190 represents that time where I had to come out and discover that I was actually an entrepreneur that could think my way out of a big situation, and that was the epiphany for me, that I can do anything if I put my mind to it. I just had to believe it myself. And that is what the 190 represents for me. So I'll have Tim put some graphics up, and he'll show my dirt bikes. He'll show my race cars and stuff in the graphics, and we'll so you can see that I literally do this to this day.
That was how many years ago now?
21 years ago.
And so that's still like a number that you use to remind yourself. I like that. I need to do some of that myself, because I've got some of those numbers. Yeah. And and I think that's very true, though. That's I don't know if this is the point of the podcast, but I think everybody that's in business for themselves has gone through it, that's had any level of success, also have had pretty significant failures, right? And along the way, whether it's the Department of Labor being investigated by the Attorney General, the Attorney General all but shutting you down, you just hear these stories. Every successful business has gone through it, but I've had those things as well, to the point where they crush you and bring you to your knees, right? And you question everything about yourself. You question your skill set. You're like, oh shit, I've worked. In my case, it was like I worked 20 years of my life, and then bam, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And I've had the ups and downs. And so then I had to wake up and decide, am I just going to go in a hole, or I'm going to figure out if I actually, am who I think I am. Right. And that's something that, I don't know personally, if I hadn't gone through that, and I had like some mediocre level of success and just stopped there, I probably would have just been happy and coasting. And when I realized, I woke up after having a lot of success, that I couldn't coast anymore and I was in trouble, I'm like, oh shit, time to say yes and do everything again.
Time to go.
Do it faster.
Yeah. Time to go.
Right. and my life has skyrocketed since.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I went through the ebb and flow. You get that confidence, and then things kind of fall apart, and then you got to jump back in there and do it all over again. And after about the third or fourth time, I was like, okay, this is the last one. I'm not going to do this again.
This is the last down. This is the last down part.
I'm not going to do that again. I'm done.
So. We've learned some of the lessons.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I'm a slow learner. I'm sorry.
I venture to guess that probably half the people that are listening to this thing at any given point in time are going through it's like this emotional roller coaster mm-hmm. of life and business. There's a lot that are on that downward, like, oh shit, that the world's collapsing around me, and there's some that are on riding high of success in the middle of summer or whatever. But some of those days, it's like you wake up and you got to figure out what the hell you're going to do. Why are you doing this? What am I doing? Do I want to even be in business? Like you go through that emotion. I don't think anybody talks about that enough. I think most people, you see social media, it's just like rainbows, unicorns, and making billions by showing up and being, whatever they say in the posters, right?
Right.
Being the hustler.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was a slow learner, but once I learned that I didn't want to do this anymore, I mean, I got busy and made sure it didn't happen anymore. And it doesn't mean it won't happen again. Things happen, right? It's the world we live in, crazy world. But I doubt it. But the point is, I wasn't prepared for anything like this, and it taught me that I could actually go out and create a real business that if something else happened, we could manage it. And that was the lesson learned. And so, one thing I find that's curious about, when I talk to contractors, when I talk about, some of the stuff that I've done and I relay some of the stuff you've done, we don't talk about our success. We talk about the problems that we overcame. And they suck when you're going through them. But man, it's awesome to talk about later.
Yeah, there's some. I'd say if you've been in this business, you have some stories.
Yeah, that's where the stories are, right? The stories that I sold 10 systems today for the first time. I mean, that's cool, but that's not the story you remember.
No, yeah, it's that is interesting. You don't think, like, as I look back, I'm like, I don't remember. And I thought maybe I just am like negatively wired, maybe, but I don't remember.
I agree with that.
I was like, there's some nice. There's some, like I remember a couple of the parties and celebrations for hitting whatever monumental things that happened, but I don't remember that along the way. I don't remember like the glorious ascent, and I just remember just getting my ass kicked constantly for decades.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and like to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm used to it. And then it would get entertaining. Like, oh, that one's a new one, like,
yep. I mean, and it never quits coming at you. It's just how you start handling it. That is what it really, it's just how you start handling it as they come at. It never stops. I mean, even today, even in my businesses today, always something. It's every day something. And it's just how you go about it and handle it. And that's just you become better at that over time as you own your companies. And, business isn't easy. It's just not. If it was, everybody would do it, right? It's not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. It is for the tough. And you need to be tough, and you need to be smart when it's time to be smart. You can make a good business being okay smart, but you got to be really smart when things are going wrong. And that is really the lesson that, I learned over my career. I just thought, I'll just open a business. But then the second you open it, you just open up a can of problems. It's just, that is what business
Nobody
is.
tells you that.
No, they don't tell you that.
Everything is like, it's the American dream. It's your key to success. You can, be an entrepreneur. Like there's this glorious, like this promotion almost from, the capitalism in America. And that's what it's all about. But it's complete BS, because everything in the system, from the government down, from the Department of Labor to the IRS to all the rules, all the regulatory agencies, it's all designed to take from you. Like you make a profit, and then the state and federal government, they end up taking 40% of that profit, and and then you got to pay. Then you got to pay your taxes to stay in business. You got to pay the payroll tax. It's like the system is stacked against you ever making money.
Yeah.
And so, without having that realization coming in, you could be in for a rude awakening.
That's right. And that's why you got to find consistency in your business so that you can make money no matter where the business is. You got to, the ebbs and flows, you got to find that consistency. And we talked about that in other shows, how everybody throws everything out the window. They were learning when summer comes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we try to start it all over again every off season when we could have just kept going in the right direction if you were getting the right advice. Yeah. And so, it was just, I was so glad that she brought me this paper. I mean, it makes her so happy to do this. Just a little job like that. I mean, it does smile on her face. And then, I call her and I tell her, a little bit about what I read here. And, that's all she wants to hear. And then she goes, well, I've got some more for you already. So look at here, this newspaper, big old article about this. So, when I started looking through Google and searching and stuff, we're seeing a whole lot of this going on. So let's
more on this Department of Labor thing. I'm just looking right now, another on their website from June of 22. Department of Labor recovers $61,000 in back wages for 79 air conditioning repair technicians. There's just article after article.
And the common theme is air conditioning technicians.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally naming them. I mean, this article starts off the same way. Look, AC technicians to get back $1.5 million. Wow. Man. I mean, you can't get any clearer than that on their intention. And I'm so happy that I saw this, because the second I saw this, I knew what show we were going to have today. And this is not the show that we scheduled to do. This is something that I just put in front of it that I thought was very serious. That's something that we really needed to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, quit paying those spiffs and those bonuses and all that stuff that you're not doing correctly, or fix it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the beauty and simplicity of what you've put together, which, that's, I think we've talked about that's when you and I really started spending a lot more time together.
That's what got us together.
I was, you'd posted something about it, and I reached out to you because at the time, I was working at this big company, and I was in charge of operations for all of the businesses, and we were getting sued, and this we were private equity owned, and our attorneys kind of came out. That's the other thing. You can have insurance for a lot of this, and the insurance will maybe pay for an attorney up to, depending on the coverage, up to $25,000, and then, maybe part of a settlement. But if you are found that you have done anything at all illegal or improper, insurance won't cover it at all. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you may think that you're safe by having insurance for this. You're not. So as we went through this, because I dealt with this before, the high paid lawyers started to deal with it, right? And it was a year and a half long process of going back and forth and then doing all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that they wanted to see as part of the resolution is that we've come up with a compliant compensation plan, which is when, you know, I reached out to you and we started going through that. And that's really what got us together. But the beauty of it and the simplicity of it is that you control your own level of compensation based on your own productivity.
Yep.
And you're aligning productivity, which is the only important thing for your business in terms of profitability, with their pay. And you keep it very simple, and you know they hit whatever thresholds they hit, this is what they're going to get paid hourly, and it's very easy to put together. So I think the beauty is in the simplicity and the fact that it aligns with the profit objectives. Most people's pay plans don't do those two things.
They don't. No, they rob profit.
Yeah.
And they rob profit in ways that, like I was explaining earlier, the extra time that your department manager has to spend figuring this payroll out, the 4 hours the technician spends when he gets his check and he goes, that's not right. And then the payroll department's hair on fire trying to get this done so they can make payroll on Friday. It's just a lot of chaos that's brought into the business, unexpected chaos. I mean, that was brought in by a pay plan. How many people that affected? But here's the worst part. The number one thing that you created when you have a complicated pay plan with all this different stuff is culture problem, because it's us against them. They don't trust that their paycheck's going to be correct. And once you have that mistrust, there's never going to be a way to improve the culture of that company, because no one trusts each other and they're bickering back and forth. And times are tough, and so we got to cut the payroll a little bit. So we do a little extra, he didn't really earn this one, or maybe he really didn't earn it. But the point is he thought he did. The person out there that's doing the work thought he earned it, and then you decided that he didn't. Who wins in that situation? Nobody.
I mean, it's whenever you have anything that has any sort of uncertainty around it, you're going to lose, right, as the employer, because either you're uncertain and you're underpaying your employee, which creates this culture problem, or you're like, hey, we're going to give the benefit of the doubt, and this guy deserves that, and this guy deserves this, and all of a sudden, the only important thing in terms of profitability, you've just lost control of, and now you've got 7%, 7 points extra in payroll, and there goes all profitability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just the manpower that's included in all that. I mean, it's just so it just raises the costs all around, and then affects the culture. Just a simple thing like that, a pay system can do all that to negative. I need some more tequila. Hang on a second. Dang it, Tim! There's no tequila in this.
Well, your face isn't red at all today, so.
I can't even talk, man. I got to put my sunglasses back on. That's why I let you open the show.
It was a long night out.
All right, so that was a negative thing. I just couldn't get it out of my mouth, so we're good to go now. So the whole idea is we created this, us against them, and that we can't have that going on in a business. We need to be all on the same page, and that's really it's. I think if anything that I could say that I became very aware of, and maybe even hyper aware of, is how do things that we do in a business affect the business and the people that work in the business. I don't think anybody really looks at it like that, and that's how I look at things. I look at what I'm doing today. How is that? What's the adverse effects here? What's the positive effects here? Who am I affecting, and how am I affecting them? And if it's more negative than positive, I got to figure out how to tweak it to turn it to all positive. And it just could be something as simple as, I don't know, making sure that they have a gas card or whatever. It just anything. You just got to look at it in a way that it's not a negative situation. Getting a gas card, who do you get it from? I lost mine. Am I going to get scolded? Am I going to get fined? I mean, that's what goes through their heads. Well, why don't you just make sure that doesn't go through their heads?
Well, so
things happen. They left it in the
let me ask you-
thing. They left it in the
let me
gas
ask you
pump.
a question, because I on that point, if you're aware of your surroundings, you're aware of kind of everybody's mental state and where they're at and how they're feeling from a culture standpoint, etc. Like, you can't always be aware of everything, but so the person that caused my issue with that big company, I knew who it was. I knew that this person was going to be a problem. I knew this person was going to be a problem after he was hired. In my limited interactions with him, and I warned the managers, and sure enough, he was the problem, and he wasn't even there that long. And they gave him special treatment. They did all kinds of things to keep him from being a challenge, and he ended up being a challenge. And it was after he was fired. And so what was just for sake of posterity or whatever, like, what was the circumstances surrounding what happened to you? Was it
Same
one specific individual that
one?
was
Yeah, it's the same.
bad seed? And
Yeah, just guy had a bad attitude and we tried to help fix it. Right? I learned that lesson a long time ago. He just wasn't a good fit for us, and for whatever reason, I don't even remember his name or anything, to be honest with you. I don't remember who it was. I know about who I think it was, but I don't remember who. It's been quite a while. And I know he didn't work there anymore. It was like he was gone. He was not even working there anymore, and turned us in. And the thing that I learned from that is the question that they ask each employee is, how many hours do you work a week? And if the employee says, oh, I will consistently work 60 hours a week, that's the fine. It's not what you have, unless you can prove otherwise. The fine is 60 hours a week. It's exactly what they say, and that's it. And so as a business owner, I mean, this is some serious stuff here. We just want, I just wanted to bring this up. It just, kind of crazy that I've been seeing more and more of this. And they're going after AC companies. It's very clear from what you found on your phone. I mean, AC companies, AC techs. They're actually saying AC technicians on all of those. They're specifying all the way down to the technician, and not just air conditioning companies. They're actually saying AC technicians. And so we know that that's where their focus is at. It's just happening so often. So
yeah.
And they know. We got a lot of gurus teaching this pay systems that are wrong, that get you in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down
I'd
to.
say that most of them are, big fans of commission and spiffs and bonuses, and that's kind of the standard playbook for most of the gurus.
Yeah, that is their playbook.
Yeah.
And it's not really.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love it. I think it makes life easier. I think it's simplistic. It's like, okay, you make whatever percentage, and it's an easy way of. It's easy check and balance. It seems pretty simple, right? But
on the surface, it is.
It's just not legal. It's not legal, right? Yeah.
Well, the second they go over 40 hours, or in your state 8 hours, you need someone to fix the commission. It's wrong.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The actual paying commission is very simple. It's extremely simple. But the dadgum law says once they have 1 minute over 40 hours, you throw all of that out with the water. You got to throw it all out, because now you got to go in and start doing the math.
I mean, I remember, this is how crazy it got because it was so big, but it was a big company, right? I remember thinking to myself, everybody else pays, this way in California. Everybody else pays commissions. Everybody else gives, I can't just pay an hourly wage. We're not going to get good people, right? And so going back and forth with you on that, I actually had other internal discussions, and it's like, hey, let's talk to the lawyers and say, if we just set aside $1 million for another one of these things in the future, and just set aside $1 million and just kept paying the way we want to pay. Because, like, would we yield a better result by setting aside $1 million and just paying fines? I mean, there was some wacky discussions over this.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because it's a wacky rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just throws a wrench in just about anything you try to do. And well, that's interesting. I can imagine the all the different conversations, because you were talking about millions of dollars here.
Yeah.
And so you got to have some interesting conversations, because that's fixing to leave your pocket. That's coming out of the bank.
When I suggested that, the lawyers are like,
yeah,
you're a liability.
Yeah. Where'd this guy come from? Who gave him that Red Bull? I see you're drinking Coke today.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut back.
Cutting back.
I'm go the healthier route at Coke.
How many grams of sugar in that bottle? Look at that bottle you're drinking out of. How many grams of sugar is that?
Oh, 52.
52.
It's 20 ounces.
All right, so I believe 4 grams is a teaspoon. I believe that's the number. How many teaspoons is that?
Well, I got some
13
to kind of offset it too.
Oh, there you go. That's 13 teaspoons of sugar. You could have just gone to the sugar bowl and did that.
Yeah, well.
Wow.
Thank God we're not doing a health show.
Well, I'm just trying to keep my co-host alive as long as possible.
Like and subscribe to save a life.
Yeah, there you go. We need subscribers to save Landon from.
Watch me slowly kill myself, one drink at a time.
52 grams. That's crazy. Or 13 teaspoons of sugar in that thing. That's pretty nuts. And look at you. You're slim. You're trim. How do you burn all that off? What do you do?
Man, I work out probably more than most people. I work out probably more than most athletes work out.
You do?
I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'll do 15 miles on the bike. I'll walk, another 10, 15 miles.
A real bike or a stationary bike?
Stationary bike.
Okay.
And then, do a couple hours at the gym, sauna, every day.
Wow. If you quit drinking those 6 Cokes every day, you could sleep in 30 more minutes.
Sleep in and not have to do any of it. I know.
Yeah.
It's the yin and yang of my life.
The motivation. I want a Coke. I'm going to go run 15 miles.
That's the reason why I'm always kind of.
Awesome. See, I mean, I'll get a Coke, if I go to In-N-Out Burger or something, I'll get a burger. And of course I get the one without the bun. They call it the protein style.
Yep. I get that too.
And
that's what I do. I got I'll eat protein style and then just crap.
Do you like avocados?
The what?
Do you
avocados? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that if you eat an avocado right after you have that Coke, it cuts the sugar down by half?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a whole it's a whole metabolism thing that you can read on it, but it does. It takes that spike that goes to your body and knocks that spike down.
Huh.
So, all right.
Next time you see me, I'll be eating avocado live.
There'll be an avocado tree in a pot right there in his office there next time we have this show, I guarantee you. Right there by his marijuana plants.
It's California, baby.
So we have been about 5 minutes of useless information.
Yep, there you go.
But this is people have already probably signed off by now, so they'll never see any of this part.
Back to the subject matter. So what other regulatory things do you think that we're going to have to be worried about in the next couple of years?
Well, we are on the radar now as an industry. We were, old school, great big industry no one knew anything about. And now we're in the limelight, which is probably what's prompting these more and more fines, is because now we're on the front lines. We're being seen more often. As far as regulation, I mean, obviously, the air conditioning regulation is,
EPA stuff. Yeah,
EPA stuff is going to continually change. I don't see any way that would ever slow down. And personally, that's a good thing for us. I mean, it's a pain, but it's easy to sell equipment when there's something completely new that's more eco-friendly and all that stuff. I mean, I remember when we went from 10 to 12 SEER, 10 SEER to 12 SEER. That was like massive. The minimum went from 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And that was a massive thing, because what they did then, they learned that lesson from the 10 to 12 that they haven't repeated again. And the lesson was that they learned is they could manufacture the 10 SEER all the way up to the deadline, and you could sell it until you ran out.
Yeah.
Whereas the new rules are you can't sell it after the deadline.
Yeah.
Right. They took away that. So back in the gunslinger days, when you could sell the 10 SEER for as long as there were 10 SEERs available, they had to stop manufacturing on January 1 or December 31. They couldn't make any more on January 1, but you could continue to sell them. I personally found all the warehouse space I could find, and I was having 18-wheelers of 10 SEER condensers, just condensers. I didn't buy anything else. I bought as many condensers as I could afford. I wish I had double the money. I would have bought twice as many as I did, and I bought hundreds of them. A 2-ton condenser and a 10 SEER back then was $250. You could buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And we did. And we had apartments calling us, 6 months later. We bought a bunch of 1.5, 2-ton. We bought all sizes. And we sold them on like a 80, 90% gross margin, because the price difference between that and the 12s and the 14s was so dramatic that I could make an 80 margin on a complete install 10 SEER and be $2,000, $3,000 cheaper than everyone else, but yet making so much money. And that was the gunslinger days. That was fun. And so that government regulation was in our favor because we knew we were prepared to take advantage of it. Same thing with Freon. When we went from R22 to 410A, what did we do? We stocked up on R22. Massive amounts, pallets and pallets and pallets of that stuff. And 6 months down the road, we were the only guys in town that had R22. And we had it cheap because we started buying. We knew the law was coming, so we started buying it as soon as we heard. And you hear about the law almost a year in advance, sometimes even earlier, year and a half in advance. And so we started slowly buying extra pallets. We know we would use so many pallets a year. So we got those first, and then we started adding and filled up, a big space in the warehouse with pallets of R22. So, but you can't do that anymore because they figured out that, hey, this is the deal. You can't put it in after this date, where before it was can't manufacture it after this date. So that was the regulations and how they changed in those instances. Now it's more controlled. And now it has, a big effect on the country, what we do. Air conditioning is a big thing in the country when it comes to the EPA. I mean, the emissions off of air conditioners, the efficiency. But at the end of the day, let's talk about regulation for a second. Why don't we just fix the real problem? We could still be using 10 SEER equipment if we just fix the real problem. What's the real problem, everybody out there? Type it in the questions there. What do you think the real problem is? All right, I'll just tell you what the real problem is. Everybody knows it, but everybody knows it except Tim. He doesn't know it. So, Tim, the real problem is ductwork. That's the problem.
I got you.
Yeah.
You're going to get more efficiency out of properly building ductwork than you are going to get out of anything else you do. You're just replacing boxes, and you still have the same terrible airflow.
Which, in my opinion, is probably the most overlooked thing, in air conditioning contracting now. It's I don't know about you, where you're from, and the houses that you visit, but what percentage of the homes that you visit would you say have proper airflow, that aren't choking the system, that have the right CFM count according to the current standards?
I don't know if I've ever seen one.
I would go so far as to say at least 90% of the homes that we're in across the country.
Well, let's think about the system though. Airflow. It's the system from the very beginning. When you build a new house, low bid wins. What happens when low bid wins? You're going to cut corners.
Contractors slap in.
You're going to cut corners. And so when you need an 8-inch run, you're going to get a 6-inch run. It's just that simple. That's it. And that's what needs to be fixed. I mean, that's where the opportunity's at. I mean, that's still duck.
I'd say it's the biggest opportunity in the space right now, especially with this equipment change and the shortage and all this stuff that's happening, and people not spending money on new equipment, et cetera. Well, let's like stop putting the Band-Aids on it. Stop, whatever industry groups or whoever started this weird notion that the money is in the box and everybody needs to focus on the box and focus on replacement of the box and true cost of ownership and all of this. Maybe it's just an easy way of selling. I don't know, but year after years of being in this, I've discovered that what you're saying is a real problem. It's also the biggest opportunity. Like, you don't have to be the guy that's going in there slinging equipment like everybody else in the same market. It's like, okay, go in, be different, and say, hey, look, here's the root cause of your problem. Has anybody ever shown you this? Like, here are the manufacturer specs. Here's where it's falling. Here's the readings. This is, I'd rather not replace your equipment, your 15-year-old equipment at all. I'd rather see if we can keep it running and replace the source of the problem. And then when it's time, that thing dies, then we'll replace it. But it would be an injustice to you to replace this 15-year-old air conditioner and not address this.
That's right.
Could you imagine, like, every call, if you start reframing your mind and start reframing yourself around a completely different sales proposition, every single call you run, or at least 90% of them, become an opportunity call. It's the same as running a 15-year-old air conditioner. If you reframe your mind and say, we're going to focus on airflow, not replacing boxes. And that's the biggest opportunity in the space, and everybody's missing out.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, technicians are moving around right now in Dallas-Fort Worth for whatever reason. So a lot of the big shops are doing layoffs or whatever, and technicians are coming in. And so we pick up some that we feel are, that we can work with and train them that have a lot of experience. And what we found out, because they're flooding us right now, and what we're finding out is we had to deprogram these guys, and because they've been so programmed to sell boxes, and that's all they do. And so they're quoting new equipment on 5, 6, 7-year-old equipment, and they're not even giving options, and they leave the machine not running because they didn't sell a box. So they just completely ignored the service side of it. And so we hired a couple of them, and we pull them out of the truck, and we put them in training. My manager does, and he reprograms them, and then sends them back out with, doing repairs, doing their options. And it's funny thing is these couple of kids that we just hired a while back. My manager's telling me the other night, he's like, so we deprogrammed them, we showed him how to do these options, we showed him how to do cause and effect. And the kid comes back to us in a week or so, and he goes, I can sell more stuff than I've ever sold in my life because I'm not trying to just sell it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the whole idea.
That's the point.
That's the whole point. He never knew. I mean, he's a young guy. He's 22 years old, and he's making a bunch of money. But he's making a bunch of money because he was programmed just to sell boxes, which that's the way they want to do it, fine. But here, that ain't going to happen. We're going to sell boxes when we need to, but we're also going to not walk away from an opportunity. Yeah. And so once we got him, showing him the, 3 options and, why Billy goes, the company that you need to do business with, blah, blah, blah. His sales went up more than he's ever had. His opportunity average has gone up. All these things have happened because we just slowed him down. Slow down. But we could do a whole we can do a whole show on all that. I mean, everything we just talked about in the last 5 minutes is 2 or 3 different shows that we could do. We can break down. I'm sure everybody's still listening to us this late we're over an hour now. That are still hanging in there. I think we can dissect all of those. So I'll get Tim to roll this tape back, and we'll look at doing shows on those. But it's what I'd really like from everyone that's paying attention, still listening to us, and we'll get done here in a second. I apologize for going long today, but give us your questions. Give us your topics. We're going to introduce here pretty soon. At some point, Landon and I are going to be able to do this thing live. We just got to get our schedules to where it syncs and we can do it at a time that makes sense. And when we go live, we're going to allow you to, interact and ask questions and do all that while we're doing the shows. And we can really do a deep dive into helping you run your business, no matter where you are in your business, whether you're a $500,000 business all the way up to $50 million, doesn't matter. The principles and things that we talk about are the things that need to happen in every size business. And so we're going to continue to improve the show in that way and get it more interactive for our guests so that we can do deep dives.
I love that. I mean, I love the interactivity and we can talk till we're blue in the face about what we think is important and relevant. But, I think for me, the object of the show, one of the primary objects of the show is to let's help people. Let's what are people struggling with? That's why we do these board calls that we do. What are you struggling with? Tell me what's happening in your business. And it's the forum. Just feel free to share whatever information you want. There's no judgment because we've all been through it. And there's enough knowledge and experience between us to help people, So if you have questions, if you're going through a struggle, if you're, you've related whatever that you want to hear more information, something we've talked about, just let us know. Because my objective is to help as many people as possible with the show.
Awesome. I just never knew how caring you were. You're just
and it's also to make you look as bad as possible.
Yeah,
along the way.
It's always a competition. All right. Well, I let him host the show, and I think he's getting a little full of himself. What do y'all think?
I'm the altruistic, low ego one, and.
Hey, we appreciate y'all hanging in there today. You're probably thinking we've been drinking or something. But that's okay. We haven't. We're just happy. We're having a good time. We love doing this show. I look forward to this every week. I can't wait to get in the studio and do this. We just, just real quick before we get going, we don't plan anything, and he's a planner.
Probably should.
He's a planner. I'm telling you, he's a planner. And I'm teaching him something that is out of his box, and I'm doing it on purpose because I think the spontaneity is really what we're looking for here. We just pick something like I did. I mean, I got this paper. We did a show on it. I mean, I didn't prep him. I didn't anything, and I didn't prep myself because I want this to be what are we thinking right now.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to. I don't want to script
you don't
the
want
show.
to be canned. I mean, now. I would say there's probably some use in having an agenda occasionally. There's maybe, something that you would like to cover. Maybe give me a chance to prepare and be a little bit witty in advance.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe
we'll get there. Maybe we won't.
Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. So anyway, we appreciate y'all hanging in there. Again, like and subscribe. I'll close the show since you opened it. Hit that button. We need those thumbs ups. And thank you for listening. Help us get subscribers, please. Please share the show. We appreciate everything. Thank you.
See you guys.
No BS with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit Sarah.tech today. That's Sarah, SERA.tech today.